Hi everybody and welcome to Beyond Politics. Today we're going to be discussing a very interesting article that affects everybody very directly. And just before we get started, I want you to think about the fact that in this country at local, national and provincial level, there are approximately 1.3 million people employed in the South African government. And right now across the country, there are government workers and politicians working hard, going to meetings, reading agendas, and making decisions on behalf of all of us.
And most of these people are non-elected, right? This 1.3 million.
It doesn't include public representatives that are elected. Does not include your MPs, does not include your councillors and things like that. So it's people working in government. So if you combine it, it is a lot of people that are on our payroll.
Yes, 60% of our tax, in fact, goes towards paying their salaries. So we want them to do a good job.
And with regards to politicians, if you look at the voter turnout, it's not a lot of people that elected them into public office. So we are literally, this country is led by the minority. Very interesting thought, even with the GNU at the helm, we are led by the minority, and that just sends shivers down your spine. So interestingly, when it comes to government department heads and people making decisions for us, to me it seems like every day they wake up and they think, how can we destroy the country today? And with that said, we're going to be discussing the NHI today.
And with regards to the NHI, the calculations that are done by people that actually do have brains and do actually understand things in the private sector have calculated it's going to cost you an extra 3,000 Rand a month, over 3,000 Rand a month in tax to fund NHI for those that are capable of paying tax on average. So 37,000 Rand a month extra tax for every South African employee to fund NHI, and we'll put a link to this article description below. But what Lauren is discussing now is super important. A lot of people only think of the politicians. They see the politicians in the mainstream media. They don't know about the people behind the scenes whose salaries you pay all the time. The big elephant in the country. The state departments coming up with ideas to ruin South Africa.
This article goes on to describe how the NHI will basically cost every year what the fiscus is worth. So this is definitely, of all the crazy things government is putting into place, this clearly is something that will end us economically.
Mm-hmm. So if this is implemented the way government suggests, what they are basically doing is sapping the last bit of money, sucking it out of the taxpayers that still are holding on by the skin of their teeth. And I mean, after December month, most people are struggling for money in January. So hopefully you will understand the pain that people will feel with an extra 3,000 Rand tax burden every month.
The worst part is that all this time the government could just have been doing their job and making sure that there's proper facilities and equipment and doctors at hospitals, but no, they decide to completely destroy our economy and country. And how much of a rand is dedicated to services?
At this stage, only 20 cents.
20 cents out of every rand is dedicated to public services. Everything else is debt, salaries, and
That's it, yeah, debt and salaries.
Wonderful. And we carry on our lives, but we should not.
We should be freaking out.
We should be freaking out.
Absolutely.
But we continue because we just want things to go on as normal. But unfortunately, we are in a crisis long time ago, years ago. We've been in a crisis.
A lot of people ask us, but what are our solutions? And we have many solutions. And
well, disclaimer, we do have solutions. It doesn't mean you're going to like the solutions. Often there's
it's going to take effort from
often
you.
What it takes to fix something is not pleasant. And I think that's something a lot of people still have to come to terms with.
They're going to have to learn that you can't rely on government to fix these things. They're just going to suck more of your money out of you. That's the only way they know how to do what they want to do and make themselves bigger, more powerful and stronger. And the next thing is they want to monitor, track and trace your every move. And they're putting the infrastructure in there using your taxpayers' money so that they can have more power over you.
Government is very efficient when it comes to surveillance and things like that.
Those things they are very good at.
But for the services we actually need, not at all. I can absolutely sympathize with someone needing an operation or someone having an illness and needing government care and not being able to afford it. I can absolutely sympathize with the fact that there needs to be something in society, some kind of security blanket that helps those that cannot help themselves. However, this is not the way to go about it. This is the way to destruction for the entire economy, and it's going to affect, again, the most vulnerable in our communities. And unfortunately, the government doesn't think that far. Politics is all about pleasing people, saying what
To
people
get votes.
saying what people want to hear to get votes, and it's not a healthy relationship we have.
NHI, as well as the Bella Bill for schooling,
Yes.
is all born out of the ANC wanting more votes.
Yes.
That is basically it, because the ANC has been pushed to put those things in place to get votes, and if they do not, they would lose votes. Okay, it's that simple. So in their minds, if they don't deliver on this, they are out of power. They don't care what happens to the economy, what happens to the country, what happens to the middle class that's earning these salaries that now needs to fund things that we cannot afford. So it's about politicians staying in power at all cost.
So let's just go into, I think most of you probably know what NHI is, but if anyone doesn't, it's a centralized national insurance fund through which the government plans to produce a healthcare service from both public and private providers. So that's scary. I would be terrified if I was a private provider of any kind of healthcare.
I think they are terrified.
As outlined in the NHI Act, all eligible South African residents will have access to these services whenever they require healthcare without the need for direct payment. So then the government will obviously compensate. Will they? Compensate.
So who owes Eskom the most money right now?
Government
Municipalities.
Municipalities, yeah.
So you can see where this is going to go. This is not rocket science.
No, it's the end. It's the end of our
Yeah.
economy. I mean, you can say that about
The
a lot of
formal
things.
economy, yes.
Yeah. You can say that about a lot of things, but this is definitely, if you look at the costs of NHI, it's not going to work out. So the Department of Health is projecting an annual expenditure of approximately 200 billion rand.
Yeah, that's what they are saying.
That's what they say.
But the boffins that have done the proper calculations have said it's going to be more
Much
like
more.
over 600 billion. So 3 times more. And to actually get that kind of money, we have to fork it out. Where does
Yeah.
it come from?
I mean, I don't know how many of you have medical aid. Over here, the Momentum Health Insurance estimated that private sector spends on average 1,750 Rand a month or 21,000 Rand a year. Now, tax-wise, this is going to cost more, and I'm sure what we're going to get for that is going to be a lot less than going the private sector route. Completely aware of the fact that a lot, if not most people, can't afford medical aid. If the NHI plans to offer the same care to all 63 million South Africans, this would translate into a cost of 1.3 trillion annually. We cannot afford that at all.
No.
And that's obviously there will be people that don't need healthcare, but that's a very small percentage, unfortunately.
So they have budgeted for 272 billion rand, but that means it would require an additional 628 billion in additional funding for the NHI to work the way they want it to work.
So this is actually been calculated.
Yeah.
By someone in the private medical industry, and they said that the economy, where is it? The economy is going to have to grow
By 10%
every
every year
Can you see
to
that
make
happening?
that possible. So our economy, to achieve this without tax increases.
Without tax increases.
The local economy would have to grow at 10.4% a year for 2 decades, basically, which means that there's more money coming into the government coffers to actually fund this. And this is happening nowhere else in the world. So this is just putting facts on the table. This is what it is, whether the government likes it or not. And yet they will go ahead because they need the votes until there's nothing left. And you need to understand this. And this is why we speak of self-reliance on this channel. And a lot of people hate that concept. Because it means you have to do something.
Like I said,
government's not doing it for you.
You might not like the solution, and I think so. One of the other things that was stated here is that it's going to drive a lot of taxpayers out of the country. Those who can afford to leave will leave, which is going to leave a lot less tax to go around to begin with, which means more tax to those that are in, which means basically elimination
It's
of
just a downward
the
spiral.
elimination of the middle class. Everyone will be poor, and everyone else will be overseas.
This
or
is
in
kind of
control.
happening worldwide right now. So
Sadly.
going overseas, I don't know how much that's going to help. So in South Africa, we need to make it work.
We have to. We have the opportunity to. So back to being self-reliant, the words people don't like to hear. I think we very much collectively still live in the paradigm where we want to pay tax and we want that tax to work for us. we haven't realized it's not going to happen.
No.
We haven't yet made peace with the fact it's just not going to happen, and we need to build society up from the ground all by ourselves. And that's going to take us uniting with different communities. It's going to take us doing a lot of work. It's going to take time. It's even going to take resources. But we have to acknowledge the fact that government isn't governing, and it's up to us to do so.
So just understand, even with this GNU, as we call it, the beast, this GNU is not going to work. It cannot, because either the people that are working together in government now with regards to NHI, they're going to work together, just like they passed the Bella Bill. The DA did nothing about it in the end. It still happened. And the same with the other parties that were moaning and bitching about it. The same will happen with NHI.
So many people thought certain organizations were going to come to the rescue of the Bella Bill. You should go ask for your money back.
And then you must actually go and see how they try and smooth talk what happened. And I can tell you, nothing changed to the Bella Bill. It was implemented as is. The NHI is going to be implemented as is.
I think that part of the mentality of wanting your tax to work for you, wanting to just have a government that gets on with things, wanting to give up your power to that degree, part of that goes with the mentality of wanting someone to save you when things do go wrong with the government. And unfortunately, it won't happen because most of those organizations are just wolves in sheep's clothing. And what we have now is just complete government control. And I actually predict that before 2029, there might actually be a new party that joins the GNU under one banner. And I think that will be kind of frightening. A whole new dispensation, a whole new phase, a whole new generation of politics. And I can actually, unfortunately, with conversations I've had with people, see a lot of people getting behind it. But it'll be the worst thing for South Africa, because all of those parties will not stand up for individual liberty. They will not stand up for parental rights, for gun ownership rights, for freedom to not be surveilled, or for what I like to call stand up for the preservation of organic humanity, the ability to live as an organic human being without being forced into a digitized reality.
And there's already parties actually joining together now, showing this trend of people coming together for the local government elections, like F4SD, that has many local councillors in office joining Herman Mashaba's Action
I'm
SA.
actually very disappointed, because Forward for Service Delivery was the one other party that I knew of that was fighting to protect democracy and vote for the president directly. And I feel like he's not going to actually, that party is not going to be completely in line with Action SA, but I can understand for numbers.
But this is why
desire to merge.
Yes, so there is a big desire for parties to merge and come together, and this was always the grand design, that you sit with one party in the end, that they are fully controlled by corporations and corporate interests and international globalist elitist interests. And we are at the bottom end of that, and the only way to be free and remain free is to be self-reliant.
So please go visit our website, beyondpolitics.co.za, where you can find out more about our citizen empowerment training and also our workshops. And you can also go visit OM's website, om.org.za. I'm the founder and leader of the Organic Humanity Movement, if you want to look at the other solution that we propose.